Hello, my name is Amy Root. I am a professor of child development and family studies in the College of Education and Human Services at West Virginia University. I am here today to offer some advice or tips for parents who may be engaging their young children in a virtual learning environment this fall. Before I start with a few brief tips or best practices, as I want to talk very, very briefly about what we know about how young children learn. And so when I say young children, I'm thinking, you know, infancy through about kindergarten or so, maybe a little bit beyond. But young children primarily learn by doing. So they learn through play, they learn through running, learn through games. So those types of activities are super important to incorporate in any learning environment for a child. And I think especially important to make sure that they are interspersed when children are learning virtually. So with that said, here's a few brief pieces of advice that I have. So the first is to set a routine. Is regardless of whether their child is going to school for a couple days or learning virtually at home, it is important for children and families, for that matter, to be in on a routine. Children thrive from routine, and so if they know what to expect in their days where they're learning virtually from home, this will probably set everybody off on a successful path. The second piece is to try to keep the more paper, pencil, or on the tablet instruction relatively brief and interspersed with more hands-on interactive types of activity. And so what I mean by that is that if the child has a game that they need to play on their tablet, or they have a worksheet that they need to complete and sent back to their instructor or their teacher, is that these things should be done in brief segments, and then immediately following that the child should be given a choice of free play, or the family goes outside to play, or something to that effect. Is that children really aren't designed or meant to sit and do work in a stationary position for long periods of time. They need to get up and move. They need to get up and learn in an interactive, hands-on type fashion, in addition to any of the workbook or tablet type of work. Um, uh, some of this might seem a little bit daunting in terms of interspersing hands-on activities, but one thing that's important to remember is that a lot of the times these activities or the objects needed to have some hands-on learning in the home are already there. So children can learn through daily routines or chores. So for instance, you might have your child join you in doing the laundry. And while they're doing the laundry with you, you might talk to them about, well, where's the orange sock? And how many red socks are there? So this type of conversation back and forth while doing something, as menial as laundry, might be helpful in children sort of understanding colors and numbers. In addition, a lot of the things that we need to set up active learning in our home are already there. I know when my son was young, pots and pans and plastic food containers were super popular. You can build with those. You can make music with those. You can experiment with those. You can fill them with water and dump the water out. There's all sorts of things that we have in our home already that can be used to engage a young child in their learning. Another important piece is to remember to try to get outside as much as we possibly can, even if it's just for about 15 or 20 minutes. We know that young children getting outside to play, run around, climb, is extraordinarily important for their socio-emotional health, as well as their just overall well-being. In addition, you might find things outside that can be integrated into that hands-on learning. Rocks, sticks, leaves, all these things can be used to show, well, which rock is bigger, which is heavier, which leaf is a similar color. So these types of things can be used to help children learn skills like categorization or basic science skills as well. And then finally, I think it's important that we all remember to be flexible with both ourselves and our children. Is that learning virtually is not something that most of us are accustomed to, parents and caregivers and children alike. And so we're going to need to be kind to ourselves and flexible. So I suggest that if we're hitting roadblocks, is that maybe we change the schedule for the day, or ask the child, "Well, why don't you want to do the math module just yet today?" And then maybe try to find a compromise with your child. I think that's all I have to add. Best of luck as you start the fall. Remember, we're all in this together, and I hope that some of this pieces of advice were a little bit helpful to you. Thanks for listening.